Welcome back to Bayside Marine Corporation's Massachusetts Fishing Report for June 4th, 2009. 2009 means we made it through the winter, and 2009 has brought with it a spectacular beginning to the fishing season. This year, a little bit new this year, we have some new guests. In some respects, I'm going to feel like Dennis Johnson dishing off to Larry, Kevin, and Robert Parrish, just because we have such a great lineup for you this year. And we're going to begin right away with returning superstar from last year, Pete Belson from Belson's Bait and Tackle up in Situate, Mass. Peter, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me for another season. It's good to be back.
All right. Tell me you're seeing the same thing I am up here with the bass.
Well, John, I've been saying it for 2 weeks now. This is the best bass fishing I've seen in probably 10 to 12 years. We have just fishing is great. River, outside, deep water, we're just bass have infiltrated the area, and it's going excellent. We've had 4 fish close to 40 pounds and numerous 30s and as many 20s as you want. It's been great.
Peter, down here in Duxbury, I have said it to a bunch of people in my 20 years here, might be the best start I've seen. You know, and it's not only the bass, it's also the flounder. It's people catching codfish, but the striper fishing in particular, I've never seen so many fish in 20 years. So it's a great, great start.
Yeah, it's been really good here, too. Even in North River, where we usually see 12 to 20-inch fish, it's all 28 to 40-inch fish, and fish up to 35 pounds in the North River. And outside under the mackerel, we've had, you know, a lot of good fish and some codfish, too, up in the 7-8 pound range under the mackerel, so it's been great.
Still plenty of mackerel up there?
Yeah, the last few days we were really good early May, and then we lost like a week, and now the last 3-4 days been plenty of mackerel.
Now, flounder fishing, I know you said it was outside the or inside the jetties last year. Has that started up?
Flounder's been excellent. It started again outside, but now Situate Harbor is guys are actually limiting out 2-3 guys, limiting out. Peggotty has fish up in the South River and the deep holes, been giving up some good fish in the 15, 16-inch range, and Cohasset guys also, and also I talked to some Green Harbor guys at the last green can that are also getting flounder, so it's been excellent.
Super duper. You may have heard the news that a couple of fish left on a truck out of Green Harbor yesterday. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I heard there was close to a 200-pound tuna taken up by Peaked Hill by a guy out of Situate, and there's been some sightings of possible bluefins out in the bay here, but the local guy hasn't hooked up yet, but I see that happening probably this week, John. How about you?
Yeah, I'm guessing maybe the weekend somebody might bring one in. Wouldn't surprise me, certainly. And then we'll see our good fish in another week after that, I suppose. But seems early to me. But the person who caught the fish, who stuck the fish, they're known for getting them early, so I don't get too excited with it because what he does is a little different from what the rest of us can do.
Well, the 09 season's starting out spectacular, and hopefully it can hold up. I mean, business at the shop has been unbelievable. I thank all my patrons, and I'm sure all the shops in the state have been great, and it's been good stuff, so we'll keep it going.
You got it, Pete. Okay, we'll be calling you next week. Peter, thank you for the report.
Thank you, John.
Okay, bye-bye, Pete.
Bye.
Up next on Bayside Marine Corporation's Massachusetts Fishing Report, covering Boston Harbor and a little beyond, is Captain Jason Colby from Little Sister Charters up there in Boston. Jason, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Jason, whereabouts are you out of?
Out of Quincy, right near the Quincy Yacht Club.
Got you fine. Got you fine. I'm going to dig right into this, get into the fish. First of all, bait fish. I know there's probably mackerel out there, but what about pogies? Are you seeing them up there yet?
Yes, more and more every day, and it's going to be probably a better year with them than it was the past few years, although, yes, last year was outstanding.
Yeah, last year it certainly was spectacular. Almost any harbor had them. Bass fishing, are you using those pogies, or are you going out and getting mackerel?
Actually, I don't even bass fish at this time of the year, but friends of mine are with the live mackerel. They're getting the mackerel just out past Boston Light to Thieves Ledge, and they're live lining for bass up into the 40-pound range right now.
Wow, you know, we're seeing great fishing all up and down the coast right now. You know, from the canal north to the New Hampshire border, it's been spectacular with the mackerel. What about the flounder fishing? I know you love to do that. How's that been?
Well, it really went crazy the last 2.5 weeks. You know, limit catches. Some of the fish are very big. You know, 19, 20-inch fish, which are 3.5, 3 3/4 pounds. I haven't had an honest 4-pounder yet, but I've heard of a couple of them in Boston Harbor.
Wow. Now, what about Going along with that groundfish area, what about the cod on the ledges? Is that pretty poor? Is it worth going after?
Well, out past Stellwagen and beyond, there's an all-you-can-eat sand eel buffet out there.
Mm-hmm.
So the codfish are kind of hanging more in that direction rather than towards Boston Harbor because they don't want to leave that food source. But there are resident fish on all the rock piles. It's just not limit catches. It's you pick stray fish off of individual pieces, and it's not filling the boat, but it is productive.
Okay, so you can get a dinner out of it if you devote some time to it.
Absolutely. The dumping grounds and the bee buoy are a couple places where you can mix up catching mackerel and striped bass and codfish all mixed, but the striped bass you cannot be beyond the 3-mile demarcation zone. Mm-hmm. So you have to return any striped bass that you catch out there.
That's fine. Backtracking to flounder a little bit, any recommendations for areas and baits for people?
Absolutely. I fish a piece of clam on one hook and a sandworm on another hook. Fish a 2-hook rig, and I've been fishing off of Rainsford Island and Pettix Island, and some friends of mine have been on the Deer Island Flats on the north side of the harbor. So the flounder are pretty spread out, and if you bounce around to a couple of spots, you find out where they're biting better in a particular day. You're going to get on them, and the fishing's really good. It doesn't take much to fill a limit. It's only 8 fish per person. Mm-hmm. And what I've been finding is people have been saving those 8 fish slots for bigger fish. So if we throw anything on the boat back that's under 15 inches, even though the size limit is 12.
Yeah. We've been doing the same down here. We've seen it great down here. Well, Jason, thank you very much for your information on the harbor, and we're going to call you next week, okay?
Very good. I'll look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Jason. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And now, the MFR Tip of the Week. This week's Bayside Marine Corporation Tip of the Week, I'm going to show you how to take this lowly piece of 80-pound monofilament and turn it into a cod rig. Great knot to know simply because it's used in mackerel rigs, cod rigs, any kind of rig where you want the line to stand off the line and not tangle with the main line. Okay? The first knot I'm going to tie in here is a dropper loop. It's the one we attach the hook to. Okay? Simple to tie when you practice it a little bit, and it might look a little confusing from this angle, but we'll give you a close-up on it. What I do is I form a loop in the line, and I pinch it with my thumb and forefinger. Okay? Figure out whether you're a lefty or righty and do it that way. Okay? I rotate a leg of the loop with a leg of the main line on themselves. And this is where hand position and practice comes into play. But I'll do that 4 or 5 times with this 80-pound monofilament. I'll take that loop that I pinched and feed it through that open rotational legs that I made. I'll grab it with my choppers, and I'll pull tight. And there's that loop that you can attach a hook to stand off of your line. Now, the very end of the rig, the bitter ends of the rig, simply form a loop, make an overhand knot in the loop, and go through a second time. And that's a knot that won't slip. Okay? And the other end, just attach a barrel swivel with your regular clinch knot, a Palomar knot, any knot you favor and are comfortable with. And that's your super duper cod rig ready to go. Thank you very much. I'm Captain John Booner, and that's this week's Bayside Marine Tip of the Week. Up next on Bayside Marine Corporation's Massachusetts Fishing Report, we're lucky to have them. Going to be a great source of information over the year, both on the inside of the Cape and the outside. And, of course, the tuna fishery, which we're all looking at out east. And I think he's got some information on that tonight, although I don't know what it is. But very lucky to have him because of how much time he spends on the water. His eyes see it, and you're going to get it right from him. Please welcome Captain Eric Stewart of the Tammy Rose and the Hookup Tackle Shop. Eric, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Captain John? What's going on?
Not much. First off, we'll start out slowly here. Bass fishing on your backside beaches, certainly those famous beaches going up to Provincetown. What's happening there?
Well, it's been spotty. It really has. Several of my customers have been out, mostly small fish and very hit or miss.
Yeah.
And now we just had Nauset Beach closed by the piping plovers, so that's going to put a damper on things for a little while.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have some closures up here with them. Though we have seen the best bass fishing start we've seen in 20 years, and it's uniform. this kind of shoreline from the canal to Boston has been spectacular. So perhaps they just made a little different route, a little wider than you guys this year, because we got them good.
Well, I think it's cold out back yet still too. I think it's just a little cold.
Yeah, gotcha. Going to the west a little bit, going towards Bishops and that sort of thing. Anything happening down there? Maybe a little warmer water.
Yeah, it's been good. The guys that are used to fishing that spots have been doing pretty well on the striped bass. And again, though, the pesky bluefish move in and kind of push them off. So it's really tide dependent. Guys will go there one tide and they'll catch the bass. They'll come back 6 hours later, fish the second tide, and no, it'll be the bluefish. So people need to just keep fishing it because the fish are there. They're just moving around.
Yeah. Anything for pogies coming in the stage at all yet?
I haven't heard yet. I'm actually getting ready to put my my 26-foot Steigercraft, the Tuna Fever, in there. We're actually launching her tomorrow, so I'll be a little bit more on what's going on in stage. But I know the backside. I know that they've done really well off like Harding's Beach. They've been catching fish there for several weeks, and now again it seems like the bluefish have really taken over. But it's been good.
I mean, what about inside, kind of where I grew up, the shoal water, maybe down towards Sunken Meadow? Anything happening there?
Well, to echo what you just said, this is my 32nd year fishing the spring bass bite in Cape Cod Bay, and it is without a doubt one of the best bites that we've seen in a long time. I mean, it started from the beaches in Sunken Meadow and Lieutenant's Island up inside, Wellfleet and Eastham, and now we've been fishing it on the charter boat now for 2 weeks, and it's just phenomenal. Today we had, no exaggeration, we had a 4-hour charter, 5 to 9. We had, 35, 40 fish to the boat. We had well over 20 keepers. We had a solid 30-pounder. We were releasing fish, an hour and a half into the trip, and just acres of bait. We were fishing right by the number one, out a little bit to the west of it. Yeah. And you just see the birds, you mark the fish. And the best part about it is, John, you can catch them any way you want.
Yeah, that's good when that's like when they're on the bank, because the bank's loaded now too, Eric, and they're helpless. They will bite anything you put in front of them, and it makes you and I look like geniuses, certainly. But hey, we'll take it, won't we?
Absolutely, it's great fishing. Everything from Terry Nugent was out there on Riptide Charters, and he was bouncing hoagies off the bottom, catching them. I was doing single plugs up in the outriggers, both the Hydro Squirts, Brown, and the X-Raps, bunker color. We were catching them up on the outriggers good, and then, of course, pulling the light wire with the umbrella rigs, and it was just great fishing. Oh, good stuff. Okay. Anything else you want to mention down there? Any bottom fishing? I have no idea what the flounder bite is like in Cape Cod Bay now. Anything happening now? To be honest with you, John, it was actually pretty decent this year, and the thing is, it's a lot to do with local knowledge. It's the little things. You have to move the boat. You've got to test the depths. If you don't find them at 20 feet, you got to move to 26 feet. You don't find them there, you got to move back to 18 feet. It's the guys that put the time in and find them did very, very well this spring. I think it's on the tail end. It's definitely slowed down, but it was all along the Brewster, Orleans shore, Eastham shoreline in the bay, and just off the flats, and they did well. And again, a lot of it was patience, and the guys that put the time in, they caught a lot of fish, and it was a good bite. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, looking east, a couple fish came into Green Harbor and went away on trucks. What are the reports from off your elbow down there? Well, there's a lot of rumors flying everywhere, but the fish have definitely been seen by the planes up on Stellwagen, and there's definitely fish out back. There just hasn't been any effort yet. They're definitely there. I think you're going to see a lot of effort this weekend. There'll definitely be fish caught in the next few days out there. There's no question about that. The internet chat boards are abuzz with it, and there's definitely fish there. So it just hasn't been a lot of effort yet. That's what's kind of nice about the whole Stellwagen bite is guys are up there doing other things anyway. So when those tuna first pop, there's boats there to catch them. Absolutely, yeah. It's a little different, but they're definitely there, and we'll be out either Saturday or Sunday. Will be our first trip east trolling, and then we'll be out next week quite a bit. Okay, well, wish you luck, Eric. Thank you very much for the report. We're going to talk to you again next week. All right, John. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Up next in the Massachusetts Fishing Report, we have Captain Pogie Mike Lundholm going to tell us about the canal, which has been red hot, Buzzards Bay, all the goodies in there, and his namesake. Maybe he'll tell us a little bit what's happening for the bait situation down Buzzards Bay. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hi, John.
Hi. Okay, start out with bait. What are you seeing?
Not what we saw the last 2 years so far. But, that remains to be seen. A little bit better lately.
Yeah. Yeah. Have they moved out in the open water, or are they set up in the harbors?
I haven't seen them, but I've been pretty much busy up inside trying to get on them anyway.
Yeah.
And I haven't really been out in the open bays too much lately.
Yeah. What about
I haven't heard any reports either. I probably would have heard from somebody.
Yeah, I got you. What about sea bass? Have you been doing any of that?
Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable out there right now. So
Yeah.
the temperature stalled a little bit. I think that's why it's still so good. But
Yeah.
it's all you want.
Yeah. What about the tog? How'd that go?
That was a good season. They showed up fairly early, and it's funny, right now a lot of people aren't after them, and it's probably as good as it gets right now.
Okay. Got you. Now, the canal fishing, we heard stories about what happened during the last derby down there and all that. Enlighten us on what's going on down there and what went on.
Just a pile of big fish. They were getting real big fish on plugs. And everybody was having a ball. You could barely park. Last weekend down there, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. Is it still going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I fished the ends with the boat, and I was out the other night, and I don't know, it might have just been the hangover from the weekend boat traffic, but it didn't seem like it was anything like it was during the week. So I don't know. I kind of have a feeling a lot of them went through. I don't know for sure though.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I think you probably heard too over in Cape Cod Bay. They've been getting them real good this week, so maybe that's what that's all about.
I didn't hear it. Were they down the parking lot area?
Yeah, over at Euro stomping grounds too.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, so that would be somewhere, you're talking a little bit up on the shoal water, I imagine.
Yeah, over by the shoal, right.
Okay. Michael, thank you very much for the report, and we're going to give you a call next week.
Okay, John.
Thank you very much, Mike. Bye-bye.
Let's see you.
Up last on tonight's Bayside Marine Massachusetts Fishing Report, we have a special guest, one world famous for certainly a catch that didn't quite make it to the dock in time, and that probably means you all know who I'm talking about. Also recognized as one of the best fishermen on the East Coast, and if you doubt me, you can just ask him. But certainly a wealth of knowledge, and somebody who has spent a zillion hours offshore, specializes in these offshore tuna trips, canyon trips. I don't think anybody thinks there's a boat that does it better than Captain Damon Sacco's Castafari. Captain Damon Sacco, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, John. Glad to be here.
Okay, super duper. Start off, one of the projects you've done this year to get people into, I think, idea of what your fishing is, called the Monster Club. Can you give me a quick half-a-second description?
Yeah, absolutely. It's real quick. It's just an online, it's an IPTV show. What we're doing is taking video nonstop, basically giving people a kind of an inside, behind-the-scenes look at the Castafari operation, where we're fishing, 100 miles offshore, to when we're rigging at the dock, to basically the 24-hour porthole view into what's going on and off the boat.
Yeah.
And we're fishing. We started fishing in mid-May, and we're going to be fishing right through probably the month of October and into November.
Got you fine. Okay, I'll dig back into last year a little bit quickly. A pretty disappointing year offshore last year, wasn't it, Damon?
Yeah, it was. I mean, when you mean offshore, you're talking obviously the canyons, because
Yes.
the bluefin fishing was great.
You
but
bet
yeah,
it was,
absolutely, the canyon fishing was way off last year. I think it was just a fluke season. And what happened, in my opinion, was that we didn't really get a full-on New England winter last year like we did this year, and so there was a lot of warm water right from the start, right from the spring, and I didn't see any defined temperature breaks out there, and that's really what you need to find offshore ecosystems out at the canyons. You need to find temperature breaks, and there just weren't any last year. It was all stagnant, very homogeneous 72 to 78 degree water, and you didn't really know, what was good and what was bad. It was all the same, so it was hard to kind of find any concentrations of bait and obviously game fish.
Got you fine. Okay, I know you did some inshore fishing this spring. You were down in that south side area. Fill us in on what you're seeing for bass fishing down there now.
Right now, it's actually on the slow side, where I like to fish Vineyard Sound and along the the west side of Martha's Vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's a little spotty. There's a lot of small fish around, but we're targeting, we're using live bait. We're targeting fish, 20 pounds and up, because that's what my customers like to do, and that's what I like to do. There are guys doing real well with smaller fish, getting the numbers, but we're not seeing a ton of these big fish around. We're only catching, 4 to 7 or 8 fish a day. We've fished 3 days now, and it's been very slow. But I will say the harbor fishing, I've been taking clients out in my skiff, and the harbor fishing is fantastic. We're catching loads of 15 to 20-pound stripers and big 12 to 15-pound bluefish right in the harbor on live pogies.
Gotcha.
So that's on fire right now, and we're having a ball doing that. So if anybody's interested, I'd love to promote those trips. But the fishing on the Castafari, I'm hoping those big fish show up in those deep holes in Vineyard Sound next week.
Gotcha. When is your first offshore trip down to the canyons going to take place? You got any idea on that?
Well, I'm slated to start fishing in mid-July. However, I've got an eye on, there's a nice slug of water out at Ladonia Canyon right now. It's 76-degree blue water. It is Gulf Stream water. I mean, that's a hike, but it is certainly reachable for, quite a few sport fishing vessels, including the Castafari, but we're not planning to go there until, I might do a scouting mission like the end of June just to go out and see what's going on out there. But my guess is there's definitely fish there.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge defined temperature break. Goes from the 50s to into the 70s. I mean, you're talking almost a 20-degree temp change.
Yeah. I got you fine. Okay, Damon, thank you very much. We're going to talk to you next week, and we're going to follow your adventures throughout the season, and we're excited about hearing from what you're doing out there. So thank you very much, Damon.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate working with you guys. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to talking with you next week.
Okay, thank you, Damon.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching the Massachusetts Fishing Report. We'll see you next week.